Hi, good morning. Welcome to NC Tech's Focus on Talent webinar. I'm Andrea Fleming, Director of Talent and Workforce Development for NC Tech. Happy to have all of the attendees and the team from Tech Elevator with us today. NC Tech is a not-for-profit, membership-driven trade association and the primary voice of the technology industry in North Carolina. Our mission is to foster growth and champion innovation in North Carolina's tech sector while providing a voice for the tech community. Our membership includes close to 600 member companies, organizations, and institutions employing well over 200,000 workers in North Carolina. Our work is in 4 major areas: professional networks, government affairs, sector promotion, and talent development. Talent and workforce are frequent topics in all 4 of those areas and are critical to the success of any organization in North Carolina. Labor force and talent pipeline are a big focus in the US, but especially for tech companies as they have really specific skills needed for the industry. We host these talent and workforce development focused webinars throughout the year, so watch for announcements and promotions in our newsletters and on social media. Some of our topics will cover and have covered diversity, equity, and inclusion, apprenticeship, education, and the role of the community college system, training and development, women in tech, recruitment and retention. If you have suggestions or requests for topics or companies you would like to have present, or if your company would like to present, just reach out to me. I'll share my email in the chat in a few minutes. So if you have questions today, please use the Q&A feature in Zoom, and I believe each speaker will allow time for questions after they speak, and then we'll also have time at the end. So today's session is sponsored by Tech Elevator and is on developing diverse tech talent. We have 4 individuals with us from the company, including a 2023 graduate to share her experience. The panelists with us today are Cody Charland, Market Lead, Paul Burani, and I'd probably just mispronounced your name after we talked about it, Paul Burani, Vice President Enterprise, Dr. Christy Walker, Pathway Director, and recent graduate and scholarship recipient, Alicia Dennis. Cody, the Zoom mic is all yours.
Okay, well, thanks, Andrea. I appreciate you all so much. I think if anyone's listening in, we are huge fans of the NC Tech Association. If you're not a member, please join up. It is a terrific bang for your buck as far as what you're getting out of support across the state. It's been super helpful for us. And I just want to say thanks for letting us be here. It's always a risk to talk to strangers on the internet. You all are resilient. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for letting us be here. So my name's Cody. I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, the saddest place in the hockey world right now after the Hurricanes got knocked out last night. I hope we're all continuing our resiliency, starting a new day fresh, and hearing about some of the strategies that we use to develop diverse tech talent. A bit of background about this, what we're talking about today. I'm often at a loss for what to do within the industry to bring in more diversity, to bring in more equitable opportunities for people, to really bring in more creativity. I hope what we're doing inspires some of you all listening in to continue the fight, continue the push, continue the change. We're not perfect by any means. We still have a long ways to go, even as a staff and a company and who we're serving in our students and corporations. But we see some progress, and that's our hope today, is that we can kind of share this with you and you can kind of understand, hey, this is effective. Again, like Andrea said, please, any questions you have, throw it in the Q&A. We'd love to answer them. There's kind of 3 sections of this, just like a hockey game. We'll have 3 different panelists talk about a different strategy to create diverse tech talent. And we'll abide by this 5x5 rule. I can't stand long-winded presentations. I get bored easily. So when I find out about the 5x5, it kept my attention, it kept things moving. And if you don't like it, it's done in 5 minutes. So that's kind of the whole point there. Let me start off, give you some background about the company. Tech Elevator is based out of Cleveland. We're an intensive in-person and online technology education provider. We're helping individuals and companies gain in-demand tech skills for a modern workforce. So we develop developers, we make programmers, and we're taking a lot of career transitioners and allowing them a pathway to get into the tech field and break into it. So we have part-time, full-time, coding boot camps that are full stack. We teach from all different kind of backgrounds to become software developers. And then we also help them with necessary career readiness skills and professional development and connections through our Pathway program, which Dr. Christy Walker will tell you about a little bit later. This is our headquarters in Cleveland. It was the original electric car manufacturer of Baker. We took over their space not too long ago. And we're all across the country. We have 5 operating campuses kind of out of the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic. And we have students from coast to coast in all 4 corners. We have hiring partners everywhere. And we just hit a milestone of 3,000 job placements. So we've had 35 graduates since 2015, since we were founded. And we've seen an average of $1.6 million in increased lifetime earnings from our graduates as well. We are big on outcomes. We use a third-party group called Council on Integrity and Results Reporting to make sure we're not like faking the numbers and what we're doing. So we graduate a ton of our students. We place them 88% of the time within the first 6 months after graduation in the market at a tech job. And then we see an average bump in their salary of $24,000 a year. So an incredible rate of return on this program. Once they go through it, they see dramatic earnings increased and their lives are really changed. It's really inspiring. But the reason we're here today is to talk about this problem. It's no secret that diversity in tech is pretty poor. What you're seeing on the screen here is from the Stack Overflow Developer Survey. It was one of the biggest, largest comprehensive surveys of people who code around the world. And even though the US has been increasing in diversity, based on the most recent census results, the tech field is still overwhelmingly white and male. So we're trying to change that. We want more people, more representative of the communities that these companies serve and live and work in. And we want to change that. We want to make it for the better. We want to make these numbers different. And this isn't just the right thing to do. I'm assuming that you all are here beyond, kind of having an introductory step into this topic. So that's what I want to say today is, we want to make this number of creative teams and success. What is it? Teams that are ethnically diverse outperform non-diverse teams by 35%. So we want to keep continuing that and knowing that diverse teams are successful teams. All right, here is who's on the panel. And I think we can go ahead and say, mic check to make sure Alicia, Paul, and Christy are here. You want to say hello this morning?
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
That was all 3 flavors of good mornings from everyone. We hit the spectrum there. We're going to be hearing from each of these people about their specialties, their paths, different topics about increasing diversity on your tech teams. I'll be facilitating this. I'm really thankful that Alicia's here, that Christy here, that Paul's here. Alicia and Christy are both in the Triangle area. Paul is in New York. We will not hold that against him. That actually might be familiar to a lot of you in the Triangle. He might be an old friend, who knows? But we're going to hear from each of these people today about a few different strategies. And what I want to do is kind of do you a favor this morning, tell you about what we're going to tell you. So it's up to you if you want to stay on and hear about this. Each person's going to strategy. After that, we'll have a Q&A with them. And we're going to do that 3 different times. And again, we'll cap their strategy at 5 minutes just to make sure things are flowing and the attention is kept. Here are our answers. At the very front, there are 3 things that we do that we want to share with you to help create diverse tech teams. The very first thing is this cultivation of it. We're going to be talking about our Represent Tech scholarship. After that, I'm going to give it to Christy to talk about the Pathway program and what mentorship looks like, this coaching, this professional development that she's in charge of as a director. We think there's some really good strategies there to also develop your diverse tech teams. And then finally, Paul's going to be talking about scaling and growing diversity amongst your tech teams through reskilling. So that's kind of the answers already. We'll go ahead and tell you about that. And we want to go ahead and dive in a little bit more. But we'll start with Represent Tech. Alicia's going to help me as well. She is a Represent Tech Scholarship Award winner and a recent graduate this year of Tech Elevator. So Represent Tech, what is it? Long story short, it's a scholarship. So we believe that the natural aptitude in Tech Elevator for learning to code is distributed evenly throughout the population, but the opportunity is not. Sometimes a zip code that you're born in, that you grow up in, dictates so much of your life. We want to interrupt that We want to offer an opportunity that maybe that people haven't had to have as a high potential individual to have a chance to learn how to code. So what you're seeing here are some stats that they're earning more than the average Tech Elevator student. They are increasing their earnings, or they're increasing salaries every year. And we know that these people just need a chance, an opportunity to learn how to be a developer. What we've done as a company is created this disruption within the tech industry to allow new ideas, new thoughts, new backgrounds to come in to the tech industry. And we've put our money where our mouth is. In fact, we've gone over $1 million in our commitment so far since 2020. And we offer this scholarship that covers 85% of tuition for people to get a chance to learn how to code. So our promise is this: for every cohort that we have in every location, there's at least one Represent Tech Scholarship Award winner in each of these cohorts. So there is someone that is very well deserving, that has applied, that is awarded a chance to, prove themselves with the support of us through the Represent Tech Scholarship to break into the tech industry. Who is this person? Well, so we have decided that we are supporting underrepresented people and backgrounds within the tech industry. So you can see that anyone who identifies with those racial or ethnic identities can apply for it, be awarded it, and they have to apply to the program, get into the program before winning the scholarship. So we're seeing that even women, they're an underrepresented demographic within the tech industry. In fact, only 11% of respondents in that survey before, about the Stack Overflow Developer Survey, the biggest survey of coders in the world, only 11% were women. So that is a majorly underrepresented demographic. In fact, women are more underrepresented in tech than they were in 1990. So it's been a declining number, and only 25% of computing jobs were held by women. So that's been a steady decline for years. And we were finding that teams with an equal representation of both men and women bring in 40% more revenue on average when they have an equal representation of both genders. So that's one of the reasons we're pushing this, and we're trying to make a difference within the tech industry through Represent Tech. Okay, some more numbers. We're seeing that since September 2020, when this started, we've had over 100 scholarship recipients. Our graduates are at 92%. Our job placement rate is even better at 90%, and you're seeing the salary increase again at 24%. We are hopeful that we can continue growing this, that we can continue outside support and sponsorship for Represent Tech through our hiring partner companies. So if you're out there saying, hey, what can I do? Well, we'd love to talk to you about it and continue this progress that we're making in diversifying the tech field. All right. So after each strategy, we're offering a chance for you to hear about what this strategy is from us and then how you can apply it. So here is how we're summing up things. Here's what we do. We offer this Represent Tech Scholarship for underrepresented student demographics. What we think you can do and continue a way to interrupt and offer an alternative pathway for people to come in is you have to incentivize opportunities that disrupt the tech industry status quo, and then they make an impact. You have to track your metrics. Is this working? Is this effective? Is this a way that we're seeing a difference made? That's why the numbers are so important when you see our slides, how much money we're spending towards it, how many seats we're offering, what is the job and placement rate, what is the performance rate of these people, and they're all better from this. If that's beyond your ability, capacity, we would say support aligning organizations who are supporting the demographics that you need in your workforce. So LGBTQ centers, ethnically supportive coding training programs as well. If I can make a plug right now, one of the best in the triangle is Code the Dream, a nonprofit that does very similar work as us, but they are doing an amazing job at allowing people the opportunities that they weren't traditionally afforded. So I want to say there's certainly organizations around the country that do this as well. Wherever you are, start researching and looking how you can support them just as well. And I'd be glad to help you get connected with those people. Let me know. All right, Alicia, are you ready for some questions?
Yes.
Well, let me start with this, just so people can understand who you are, where you are. Tell us a bit about yourself. You live in Plantland right now with your Zoom background. Tell us more about you. How'd you come to Tech Elevator, and where are you now?
So I graduated from Tech Elevator's remote program just a bit over 4 weeks ago. Before Tech Elevator, I was a full-time student pursuing a bachelor's degree in computer science after deciding to go back to school in 2021. And I decided to study computer science over my original choice of foreign relations because that was something that I no longer wanted to pursue. So I chose computer science not only because of my enjoyment of problem solving and technology, but because of the need to continuously learn in the field, being something that really appealed to me. So at the end of 2022, my partner and I decided to move from South Florida to Raleigh, North Carolina, in order to be closer to family. But because of that, I no longer qualified for in-state tuition. So I started looking at boot camps, and I found a lot of positive testimonials from Tech Elevator alumni. And I looked at the program SIR reports, so I decided to apply. And from there in December, I finished the semester that I was enrolled in, and then in January, I began the full-time program at Tech Elevator.
Awesome. And then at some point, Represent Tech found you, or you found Represent Tech. Was it just like, hey, this kind of seems like a lottery ticket, but I'm going to try to buy one? Or like, what was the application process for? Like, did you think you were going to get it? Like, or was it just kind of a shot in the dark?
I thought it was a shot in the dark. There was a form that I could submit to express my interest in the scholarship. And then a few weeks before, I was given the link to the actual application. And it was, you would be asked a question, a few kind of draft your answer, and then at the end of that time, you would record your answer via a video response. And I actually checked it afterwards because hindsight's 2020, and I was like, oh, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. But when I received the results not too long after the deadline and was told that I was awarded the scholarship, that I was very grateful. I was very surprised.
Had you ever, like, where does that rank on your life moments? Have you ever won anything like that before, or been awarded anything like that before? So
No,
like,
what
was the feeling in your body? Was it just like stunned, cold
Shock.
sea turtle? Shock, yeah. Well, I would love to know what your partner's reaction was. Did she believe you?
She was very happy because she saw how stressed I had gotten about it. Because like after you get out of it, and during mock interviews that I've had during the program as well, that kind of feeling afterwards, where you're like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have done that. But everyone was pretty happy when I was able to share the news.
Yeah. Okay, so think about this. You said hindsight's 2020. Do you think you would, like, how would your life been different if you hadn't been awarded the scholarship? Would you have been able to afford the program, like, or would you kind of just gone an alternative path?
I still would have gone through with the program. I would have just gone through one of the financing options that are available to students. But like I said, we had just done a pretty big move that was fairly financially taxing. So receiving it it took off such a huge financial burden that's typically associated with going to boot camps. Yeah.
Gosh. Well, I'm so happy for you. So proud of you.
Thank you.
Alicia, can I ask what's next for you? What would you like to be doing? You finished boot camp. Now what?
In my meantime, since graduating, I've been continuing to study. But my big goal is to find my first developer role. In what field that is, I'm really open to a lot, since I'm just interested in learning as much as I can.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hireable of a candidate are you for maybe like a company in the triangle? I just wonder, like, what you would rank yourself out of 1 to 10.
I'll say 10.
10. I was going to say that too.
No, I was going to say 11 or 12, maybe even a 13. I think you would be, a standout applicant to most roles. Are you sure it would be more than 10? Any justification for 10?
If I can break the scale, I'll go past 10.
I think so too. Yeah. Not exactly a rule breaker, but when the chance occurs to, okay, yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, I think if there are any questions, if Andrea is still there behind the curtain, I wonder how we see those from the Q&A, if there's anything that comes up.
I haven't seen any questions come through yet, but I do have one question while we're talking about the scholarship.
Sure.
Kind of in two ways. Is there anything that people on this call or NC Tech can do to help spread the word for the availability of these scholarships?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I wonder if Christy or Paul might be able to pull a link in, and we could send that out afterwards for people.
Okay.
We have a lot of opportunities for partners to help us support students like Alicia. If you like this story, oh man, we've got a wealth of student stories, even online material that we're really trying to make a difference in people's lives and allowing to have this village mentality of support here. So there are partnering opportunities that we would love to work with anyone to help people like Alicia get opportunities that they maybe never had before that really are a significant uplift in their life and their journey to the tech industry. We'd certainly send that out information and talk more with partners.
Great.
Yeah. Hey, Alicia, last call for you. Anything else you want to share about yourself, the experience, or anything about Represent Tech?
I'll just say that one of the reasons why I didn't pursue computer science the first time that I went to college was impacted by not seeing much diversity and feeling sometimes worried about putting myself in that kind of space. So I'm just very hopeful that with all of the efforts that organizations like Tech Elevator are doing to kind of remedy this issue, I'm hopeful for people in the future not finding themselves in that kind of situation.
Yeah, that's really well done. You got it. That's spot on. Cool. Well, hey, thank you. We can't wait to see how far your shooting star keeps going. Cover us in your stardust. And we're really happy to help you continue on. So thanks, Alicia.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. Second period, here we go. Dr. Christy Walker is going to talk about our pathway program. Christy, before we start, do you want to give anyone like a 20-second rundown of who you are, what you're doing, and life in Durham, North Carolina?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Christy Walker. I'm one of the Pathway Program Directors at Tech Elevator, which I'm going to get into in just a few seconds. My background, I'm a career changer myself. My bachelor's degree is in chemical engineering. So I worked as an engineer for a while, worked as a chemist, and decided to switch careers. And so the majority of my career has been in career counseling, career development at various colleges and programs, most recently at Durham Technical Community College. That's where I came from before I got to Tech Elevator, and also at UNC Chapel Hill. So I'm working with students who are coming from all walks of life, which I really enjoy. And yeah, so it's just a really great time to build relationships with students and to help them get on their first job after completing the program. Okay.
I can't imagine you saying that any better. You knocked it out of the park. Here we go.
Okay, so we're going to get into the pathway program. So just a little bit of background. In addition, at Tech Elevator, of course, students are taking their coding classes, learning about how to code, but the pathway program coincides with the coding knowledge that the students get. It is a curriculum which the students are required to complete. So they can't finish Tech Elevator unless they do the pathway aspect. And the pathway program is to help students land that first full-time job in tech after graduation. So this is an overview. They get 30 plus pathway program sessions with myself and my colleagues, one-on-one individualized career coaching, and lots of introduction to our hiring partners through different programming and company introductions. I do want to say that in the research that I've looked up, it has shown that students are more successful when, especially from diverse populations, when they see somebody that looks like them, or they have mentors and somebody who has their best interest at heart. And so I think that is a really good way to get diverse student populations wanting to work for your organizations, is that they have somebody that looks like them, somebody that has their best interest, and that's what we do at Tech Elevator. So can you advance? Okay, so the Pathway program is split into 3 sections. The first third of a student's time at Tech Elevator, they are learning things about themselves. I happen to work for the part-time cohort. So Tech Elevator has a part-time cohort. They're taking classes part-time, and then there's a full-time cohort. I work with the part-time cohort. A lot of these folks are holding full-time jobs while they're studying at Tech Elevator. And so a lot of them are just trying to discover themselves and figure out, you know, how to juggle everything. They've got families, they've got their full-time jobs, and they're going to school to better themselves and get a job in tech. And so the Pathway program self-discovery piece, we go over Clifton Strengths. Clifton Strengths is a very widely known assessment where students get to learn more about themselves, what their strengths are, and what they can bring to the table. We also work with students in pitching and creating an elevator pitch. We have one-on-one individualized, which is very important. I want to stress that it's individualized Pathway meetings where they meet one-on-one with us. And so we cater a program, we create a program that is specific to their needs. And so, you know, like I said, we have people coming from all walks of life here, all areas. And us as Pathway directors, we have these cultural competencies that, you know, we will fit that to whatever the student is going through. And so that's helping to bring diverse students into the tech sphere. Can we advance? Next slide, please. Okay, the second piece of the Pathway program is it's the largest piece, I would say, is the career preparation and personal branding. So we help students with their resume reviews. We, as Pathway directors, we look over those resumes several times to make sure that they are professional and they are eye-catching to a possible employer. We also do LinkedIn reviews, and so we make sure that that personal branding is on point. We help students with the tell me about yourself question, because we all know that that's a popular question, probably the main question that people get in interviews, and people get stuck on that. So tell me about yourself. And we give students the opportunity to do behavioral mock interviews with us and also technical mock interviews. And so we realize that part of the interview process is getting that personal brand together so that they can do not only behavioral, the tell me about yourself, the tell me about a time when you such and such, but also that technical mock interviews. All students get practice with those things. And then the last huge piece of the Pathway program is getting students connected with employers and possible careers. And so, you know, it's all about who you know and who you are exposed to. And so Tech Elevator offers employer showcases. Employer showcases are basically like information sessions where our employers do webinars telling the students what they are about, what they create, what kind of positions are available, what kind of qualities the students need in order to be a good candidate there. And so we have employer showcases. We also have expert panels. So we have volunteers to come and do an online panel. For example, some of the panels we've had are lessons I've learned in my IT career. And so we've got alumni that come back. We've got people that may not be Tech Elevator alumni, but they come back to share how their IT career has gone. We have an alumni panel. We have an interview like a pro panel. So this is where employers and HR individuals will get on in a webinar and share how to interview and interview tips. And then we also have a career paths in tech panel where students are able to learn about the different areas you can go into tech once they finish. And so it's very vital that we connect these students to these opportunities. And so that is a huge piece of our pathway. And then we have our matchmaking. Matchmaking is basically like, to make it simple, it's like speed dating, but you are talking with the employers. And so we have employers who are looking to fill positions. We set them up with students to do 25-minute interviews. Students have several per day, and they get to show off their skills and talk with employers. A huge amount of students have been able to find their first full-time position through matchmaking. But I also make sure to stress with students that this is just one step in their matchmaking, one step in their job hunt. And so we have, okay, so with that said, alumni, we do not let students go once they have completed the program. We have continued pathway support. We help with salary negotiation. Every so often, we have what are known as JAGs, which are job accountability groups. And so we check in with our alumni to make sure that things are on track. And we even have job board access. They have access to all of our job boards that we have for the current students. And then we have an alumni Slack channel where we post jobs there. And so we don't let you go after you complete the program. You're good to go. And so we have all of these things. All of this whole umbrella is the pathway program that students have access to as being a part of the Tech Elevator family. All right, so pathway program, we prepare people for their first tech role after graduation. It's a whole huge piece. And again, students are required to do that in addition to their coding classes. And so what your organization can do is that you can provide individualized mentoring opportunities and also to create pathways for success. Okay.
Great. I love it. I love everything about the Pathway program, except that Jeff Bezos quote of your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Like he's not reading the room kind of in that regard. It's like, it's strange that he would say that. Do you understand that?
Right.
Christy, one of the things I want to say so much is like, I admire so much of every Pathway program director with the patience and care that it takes to like versatilely adapt to every student situation. Because we have everybody from everywhere all the time. I think the versatility that you all have in professionalism is remarkable. That's a superpower in my mind. That's not a question, that's a compliment. I have a question. Can you share some examples about how the Pathway program has helped students get meaningful employment in the tech field, especially from those in underrepresented communities? So some examples about how the Pathway program has like pretty much worked for people in the real world.
Well, there's one student that I have in mind. I'll use her as an example. She's a Latina woman. Actually lived in Chicago. I think she was doing social work previously and decided to go into a coding career. And so through my whole time working with her at Tech Elevator, I helped to craft her resume. I helped to give her help her with her elevator pitch. Did several behavioral mock interviews with her, and she ended up landing a position in Cook County, the Cook County's attorney's office. And that was only a couple of weeks after she completed the program. She just started that position a few weeks ago. She found a position. She did not find a position through our matchmaking, but still we give students the tools to help them find jobs. If it's not through matchmaking, it can be in other routes. And so she found something that was close to home for her, and it worked. Yeah,
that's really good. I think part of this too is there's this common ground that you all create through the Pathway program, especially for those in underrepresented communities. It's basically saying like, it's teaching things that maybe were never taught before, but also like, they're teaching us about themselves, and we're trying to highlight their unique aspects of diversity. That's one of those characteristics that they already have are going to make them stand out from the field, especially their backgrounds, their experiences, some of the things out of their control. Like we're teaching them to highlight that, not just like, because I think there's these unconscious biases that teach them to hide those things.
Right. right? And we get students from all walks of life, from people that already have master's degrees to people who, I mean, there's a lot of job diversity and career diversity in that are of the students that are coming. So we've got people that, worked as teachers, worked as, machinery folks, just the whole gamut. So we get everybody up to the same level. And I take pride in that, regardless of whatever background you come from.
Yeah. Hey, there's a really good question on chat, if we can bring it up. Jennifer asked, what are we looking for in mentors? She gives an example. Hey, are there specific backgrounds in tech, years of professional experience, anything like that? What makes a good mentor in your mind?
Well, we need people from tech and HR. So a good mentor would be somebody that would want to work with the students, or just do a showcase talking about what they do and be able to be on a panel such as the one that we're doing now and talk about their experiences. And so, we would enjoy having people from 1 year out to 20 plus years out of school or working in that field. We would also appreciate, HR folks to help with the mock interviews. So we don't have any specifications really. It's just that you would be willing to help and work with students.
Yeah. I think one of the rocky signs of what's going on in the tech industry and beyond is the recruiters are in transition. They're looking for more and more, they're looking for their next opportunity. So I've been working with folks. Yeah, and then we offer them, hey, chances to contribute to these students and this program and their development. If they're, kind of looking for the next thing, keep your skills sharp. That's what I'm saying to them. This is something that you can promote even when you're getting interviews. Hey, I haven't been sitting around looking for the next thing. Or I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I've been helping other people develop. Oh, that's a great piece of content that shows your heart behind what you're doing and keeping your skills sharp. Yeah, Christy, anything else that you want to bring up that maybe we haven't talked about regarding mentoring, the Pathway program, you being the good doctor that you are? Anything that you want to talk about before I give the stage to Paul?
Well, I would just say, if you are interested, please feel free in mentoring or being on a panel or something to that effect. Please feel free to reach out to me because we would love to have you. It doesn't matter if you work in tech or if you're in a tech company, but you're doing HR. We would appreciate you.
Yeah, good word. Christy, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Maybe the best for last. I want to let you see if that's true, Paul. Do you want to tell us? I have to tell everyone, you look a little bit more tan. Were you in a tropical Southern California location this week?
Funny, you must have known what's on my calendar. I was in San Diego this week for the annual ATD conference. San Diego was cloudy and about 50 degrees. So if anyone thinks that you go there to escape bad weather, think again.
Not this time of year. I texted with Meredith. I said early June gloom. I think that's what the locals call it.
Good to know. Live and learn.
Yep. Next time. Okay, Paul, you're going to talk about scaling this. The floor is yours. I'm going to start with your first slide if you're ready.
Sure. Let's jump in.
Okay.
So look, there's a number of ways to try and bring this to life. What I want to try and do with this conversation is take this definition of diversity that we are sort of incubating here and also try to put it in the context of actionable programs. So when you think about talent in your own organizations, there's a million different ways we could look at it. But I think one that speaks to all of us is attrition. Why? Because we know it's expensive, because we know that it casts a shadow on your organization, it affects morale, it affects your ability to basically achieve your goals as a company. And I want to put a unique spin on it because actually attrition really is something that can be utilized to your advantage. And by that, I mean, let's break it down into three phases. First of all, we know it's expensive. If you have technology talent on hand and they walk out the door, as is with some regularity, commonly the case, there's a huge cost associated with that. So this is an independent study from DevSkiller, which basically I'll kind of summarize it for you. If you're a big company that is, looks at attrition as a fact of life and is prepared to, hit the ground running when a valued team member walks out the door, you might be, absorbing a cost of $30K, upwards of that. And it's really in the form of replacement cost, just getting the new talent in the door, but it's also the opportunity cost of the work that is not being done. Now, that cost gets a lot higher if you were blindsided by this. So smaller organizations or organizations that maybe don't, have the perspective of getting out in front of this, you might be looking at a cost higher than $50K. Suffice to say, attrition's expensive, and that's, table stakes. Now, we look at this because we see this as a driver of change. The same way organizations want to stay ahead of their competition, they want to attract and nurture a more diverse workforce. They also want to just mitigate the costs of doing business. In technology roles, 13% attrition is typically what we see on an annual basis. So if you've got, a team of 100 technologists, without doing anything wrong, 13 of them are going to walk. And so you think about the multiplier effect on these costs. If it's expensive, I also want, can we back up a second? If it's expensive, I also want to point out that this is avoidable, right? So the attrition can be mitigated with growth opportunities. And there's independent research that has indicated very high figures, 7 out of 10 workers that have left a job, and this is across all functions. They've left a job because of lack of development opportunities. You don't invest in me, I'm going to walk. 95% are saying after the fact, if you had just given me a path, I would have stayed. But the important thing for today is that it's reversible. And so what we see is that on-the-job training, experiential training, where your company says to you, look, we're going to support you to do your next job without kicking you to the curb or letting you walk. That is unanimously, both on the learners as well as on the HR side, deemed to be the #1 method for skill acquisition. So it's expensive, it's avoidable, it's also reversible. We'll talk a little bit more about how. So,
hey, Paul, there's
yeah.
one question in the chat that might be relevant just to this slide. It's on-the-job learning is preferred by whom? The team worker or the employer, or is it a collection of both?
On-the-job training is the #1 preferred method, both from the learner as well as the HR department. So this survey looked on both sides.
Cool.
So when we think about reskilling, what we're really saying is taking people who are in one sort of job function and arming them with the tools, the skills, and the experience to completely change careers and contribute to your company in a whole other way. And so, this is different from upskilling, where somebody, would come in from the outside and say, I've always wanted to do this. I'm ready to plow into this new career opportunity. Reskilling is basically saying, hey, I'm already here. I just want to do something different. And so what we do, you've got a baseline understanding of how we work, right? Where we have a cohort-based learning model, full-time or part-time programs, on-campus physical environment, as well as a remote learning environment. So there's a number of ways to do it. And the way reskilling would work is that we basically give you the opportunity to sponsor seats in a cohort. So if you said, hey, I've got 3 people in my call center that are high performers, and they're really good people, we don't want to lose them. They're good for the culture, they're good for our company, and we want to support them to grow with us. What if we sponsored 3 seats in an upcoming cohort and gave them a chance to learn alongside all of these other people all the fundamentals of full stack software development? And so they're going through all of the modular aspects of this 14-week or 30-week journey. They're learning about front-end HTML and CSS. They're doing object-oriented programming. They're doing APIs and database. And then as they get a little more sophisticated and start doing project work, they're going to also start to absorb more of the agile principles and Scrum and all of that good stuff. 2 weeks at the end of the program is capstone, where you get to apply it all and turn out a really tangible end product. So it's really the same learning experience, but instead of being people that came from the community into this program, these 3 individuals in this example are employed by your company. And you can see here, the program is intended to really kind of utilize all of the best of the model that we've honed over the years. So it's the technical instruction. It's also the career development that Christy spoke about a moment ago. Everything that has, in a programmatic context, made Tech Elevator successful, and it's just skinned differently for your internal, sort of enterprise application. So that's how it looks if it's sponsored seats. Now, on the next slide, we have another version where you might say, hey, look, I've got a bigger team. I've got a dozen or 2 dozen people that I want to put through a program like this. Maybe it's the entire call center, right? Maybe you're changing models entirely and you want to give these people a place to land in your organization so that you don't have to lay them off. We've worked with retailers who send us their cashiers and warehouse associates. We've worked with banks that send us their branch employees. There are a number of ways to sort of identify and put that population through a cohort. With a dedicated delivery, you don't have to plug into our existing infrastructure. You get to build it yourself. So you start on a date that's convenient for you. You can have a little bit of influence over the curriculum and the delivery of the program. You might say, hey, look, we're an insurance company, or we're a software company. So let's make that capstone project really specific to our business and to our, the applications that matter to us. So it gives you the chance to have a little more oversight over the program, to curate that learning environment, really tailor it to your liking. And, a lot of our most sophisticated reskilling clients do these dedicated deliveries, and in some cases are doing them, multiple times a year. So I'll give you an example. KeyBank, headquartered in Cleveland, a big client of ours, and they started working with us in the early days when Tech Elevator was just getting started. They began, like most of our enterprise clients, by hiring our graduates. They started to get a sense of the quality of talent that was coming out of Tech Elevator's programs. And then they came to us with a couple of challenges. They said, first and foremost, we just can't get enough of this talent. We know it's scarce. We are going through a transformation in our business, and we know we need warm bodies in the technology organization. The second thing they said was, because our business is changing, there's going to be disruption. We've got branch locations that are closing. We've got customers consistently asking more and more for digital experiences. So what if there was a way, instead of having to lay people off and absorb all of that financial and emotional cost, what if there was a way to get out in front of that problem? And then the third piece was diversity, right? So right in line with what we've been discussing today, this idea that, the technology organization is not on par with where we want to be as a company in terms of providing opportunity to underrepresented groups. What can we do about it? So together we created this Tech Ready program. And if you fast forward to today, we've reskilled 81 people. The class sizes get bigger and bigger. So they started with a handful of sponsored seats. They started, they evolved into a dedicated delivery, and now they're doing 3 a year. And so that's how we've gotten to, at this point, closer to 100 employees, and we've retained 100% of them. There is really strong cultural alignment. So you see the quote here from Amy Brady. That is where, we see this working the best, when it is bottom up. The employees are bought in because they're ready to take control of their careers. Top down, the leadership is bought in because they know these challenges on the left-hand side are not unique to KeyBank. These are problems that are felt everywhere. So we're really excited about the work we've done with them. This model we've seen has scaled really to a lot of other industries, because the common currency here is growth capped positions where you have talented people that don't see a path. And they want more. They have proven themselves and they're ready to take that next leap. They have that growth mindset. They have found the program to activate that growth mindset and basically apply additional instruction and career services to get there. And so it's really exciting to watch this all unfold. The last thing I'll say about it is, our work doesn't end there. Yes, we are proud of how we teach and how we support on the pathway side, but we also want to help these companies tell their story. And so what we're doing is we're supporting internal communications. Another example is AutoZone. So AutoZone worked with us to do a program very similar to KeyBank, similar underlying challenges, but they said, listen, we don't know where to start. We helped them identify the test markets, solicit applicants, and that meant creating flyers that go up in the break rooms at each store location and in each warehouse. Creating language that would really inspire people to say, hey, what have I got to lose? I should try this, right? And that's how we got 900 applicants for this program. So there's a lot that goes into the internal communications. There's also this aspect of celebrating success. So we really go all in. When there's a graduation event, Niantic Labs, the software company that makes Pokemon Go, we had a graduation out at their San Francisco headquarters where we flew in a videographer. We did a catered event. We had 20 graduates on stage. The instructor showed up and surprised them. We made this video. It's a very heartwarming video. You can find it on our website because everybody's just bought into the change that they're a part of. So it's really important to bring that story to life and help everybody tell it. And that's really that third piece, is that our marketing team also works in the background to tee up opportunities, national, regional, local media opportunities and PR, anything that can help your company stand out, showcase your employer brand and say, hey, we are creating opportunity for our people. We're all about mobility and opportunity, but we're also really part of the solution when it comes to the diversity challenges in corporate America. It's immeasurable value to tell that story at scale. So to bring it all together, what we're really doing is, like I said, we're taking the same fundamentals, the technical instruction, the career support, everything that goes into making Tech Elevator successful and making its graduates successful, and now sort of mapping that success to the corporations themselves. What can you do about it? You can, first of all, look at it from an attrition point of view and say, I know it's expensive, but I also know that it's avoidable and it's reversible. And so there's an angle here, which is purely about the dollars and cents of talent acquisition. Find a cheaper way to get better talent and you'll make a lot of friends in your company. The second is demonstrating a commitment to mobility. So because we know that 7 out of 10 people are going to leave if you don't give them a path forward, you can identify those high performers and say, we are investing in you. And the last piece is to create that scale, and to do so with diversity initiatives that you're effectively giving more runway to the groundwork you've already laid. And what we'll often find is that these conversations might start in the talent acquisition or in more of an HR generalist capacity, and someone from the DE&I team works their way in because they say, I've been looking for a program to plug into. You're helping the same underrepresented populations that I'm trying to help, because that is over-indexed at the branch locations and in the warehouses, et cetera. So these are all different ways to the same outcome, which is reskill your people for a competitive advantage.
Oh, really good. You blew through that 5-minute rule, 5-slide rule, just like the Florida Panthers did to the Carolina Hurricanes recently. All good stuff.
Please.
Let me ask you a question, just with all that's happened since January. I mean, you're speaking very Pollyanna-like about reskilling. What has changed recently with your perspectives of this? This can't be like a silver bullet, even with all that's going on. What is something that you've learned maybe on reskilling recently with all the stuff that's been changing within the tech industry? Anything that's helpful as like kind of up-to-date info?
Well, what we're reading about in the headlines, the layoffs and all of the churn in labor markets, don't underestimate the shock value of headlines, because yes, a lot of, by the hundreds of thousands, we're seeing tech jobs, basically come off company payrolls, and those people are out in the job market. But the reality is the availability of open jobs for people with technology backgrounds has been growing month over month. was falling for a while, but it's come full circle and it's actually up year over year at this point in time. So there's always two sides to that story. Because of that, salaries have stayed high, recruiting costs have stayed high. And so I would just double down on that notion that, reskilling is a hedge against your talent acquisition cost. And so I think you want to think about it in terms of mitigating that cost of attrition, making your DE&I more credible. And generally speaking, there hasn't been a better time to do this. I think you just want to be mindful of the sort of the imperatives. You need to be culturally prepared as an organization to take on people that may not have that traditional technology background. Our corporations across America have often, looked at a 4-year CS degree as table stakes to get into, a valuable technology position. That's changing though. Degree requirements are dropping, especially in tech, where it's more of a skill-based approach, where we say, hey, it's less about the piece of paper. It's more about, have you proven you can do this, this, and that? So think about that skills-based mentality, and really kind of be a voice of change in your organization, knowing that it's going to take a coalition.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Hey, I'm going to give you a minute to say anything else. We're running against the clock here.
Sure.
Maybe this week from San Diego, what's something that you learned focused on reskilling, diversity? I would love to hear just an update from the West Coast, as cloudy and gloomy as they are. Anything that's hopeful for you or helpful to us for our time?
Well, I think what I would say is that this is still a new concept. And so, we got hundreds of booth visitors this week at ATD. Probably the most common reaction was, I didn't know you could do this. And the reason people don't know that you can do this, I think, is predicated on the idea that, or the erroneous idea that it takes a very special person to write code. Our assessment, which we use on every single applicant to the Tech Elevator program and has been deployed over 17,000 times since our founding, has consistently found that 30% of individuals, regardless of race, gender, or educational background, have the cognitive ability to write code. So 3 out of 10 of us can do it. Then you have to look at the behavioral side of it and say, do you have the tenacity and the growth mindset and the creative problem solving ability? And that whittles it down a little more. But if you put those two together, the number of people out there in the general public that have the ability to do this and thrive is staggeringly high. And if you get over this notion that everybody's a special, like it takes a really special profile and it's actually more democratized than you realize, reskilling doesn't seem so crazy anymore.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I think we're at time. If you want to follow up, if you want to hear more about us, if we can help you in any way, just ideas, concepts, working together, we'd love to. My information's on the screen. I'm based in Raleigh. I jump on the train quite often to Charlotte, going down there to the Queen City, also going to Murphy to Manteo in North Carolina. Find me at an NC Tech event. Now you know what I look like. Sometimes I have a beard, sometimes I don't. But would love to help you. Let's make a difference. We can work together. Andrea, anything else as we finish our time?
I just want to let everyone know I will share the slides if that's okay. Cody, if you can share those to me. I thought those were really helpful and I really enjoyed learning about Tech Elevator more. I thought I knew a lot about you. But really, Paul, especially your section about reskilling, you can take those employees that have the attitude and aptitude, but need the tech skills. And really, that's takes a lot of risk out of putting the money towards that additional training when you already know the attitude, aptitude is there, and then putting them through a quality program like Tech Elevator. And also, Dr. Walker, those soft skills, the interview skills, making sure they're in the right area of tech. Tech employment or a tech job covers a lot of ground. Helping to make sure they're going in the right direction has got to be really helpful. And for companies looking at working with you, knowing they're getting that extra level of training, that it's not just the tech, it's all of the other things that Tech Elevator puts towards their students. So very helpful. Those were my 2 cents. I will be sharing with all of the registrants the recording, your contact information. I will ask who is the best person to get in touch with. Cody, is that you? If a company wants to get in touch about how to work with Tech Elevator, how to hire graduates?
That's the job. Yeah, would love to talk
Okay.
to them. Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank everyone for joining us this morning, and thank Tech Elevator for sharing their story, and thank all of you for spending a little bit of your time this morning with us.